President Donald Trump is finally telling people why he was really in DC over the weekend and why he's apparently still there after wild speculation as to whether he may have been arrested finally. All the Democrats want that, or whether he was having health issues and had to rush to the DC hospital. All this speculation started based on a short video captured of Trump arriving in DC. Apparently, this is only the second time since he left office that he has touched down in DC. Midas Touch captured this video. You can see him there in casual golf clothes. Quote, Donald Trump makes surprise landing in DC Sunday. Ooh, look at that. We rarely see him dressed like that. What must be happening? That was the leftist Trump hating outlet Midas Touch. It led to headlines like this one from Newsweek. Quote, Donald Trump's surprise visit to Washington, D.C. sparks arrest speculation. They said, quote, the surprise visit has resulted in a range of theories being shared online. Some have suggested that Trump may be in D.C. because he is due to be arrested by the Department of Justice, or that he may be visiting the Walter Reed Hospital for health reasons. A lot of speculation about his outfit. Newsweek saying, look, because he was dressed so casual, that implies he had to rush there in an emergency. Well, Trump is talking today about why he was actually in DC. Let's check out Trump's Truth Social directly. Quote, working today at Trump, Washington, D.C. on the river. What an incredible place, he says. And then he shared a link to Trump National Golf Club, Washington, D.C. Oh, yeah, he was wearing golf clothes when he touched down, but people speculated. Kellyanne Conway's husband said, look, quote, hasn't exactly been golf weather here. It's been raining. So people talking about the speculation over whether he is being arraigned, finally being arrested. So many people were hoping for that. Trump just saying, look, I'm working at my golf course in Washington, D.C. People are like, So he was sharing a lot on his True Social page today and talking about this issue of the FBI raid. So I want to catch you guys up on the FBI raid today and some really interesting insights that are pretty damning for President Biden. It appears President Biden may have been caught in a big lie in regards to that raid and his involvement. So I'm going to go over that, just the timeline of that raid, quickly catch you guys up on the very latest on that. There's also a big note in regards to World Health Organization today. And I have something about 9/11 conspiracy theories. Before we jump all the way into it, shout out to the sponsor of my coverage. Noble Gold CEO Colin Plume thinks quantitative tightening is setting up the stage for a gold rally. In his interview with the National Desk, Plume said the tightening is pushing the dollar up. However, he predicts that by next year, the Fed will print money again to restart economic activities. Not more printing. If you're thinking of gold and silver right now, Noble Gold is giving a free gold American Eagle coin with every eligible IRA or 401k in September. You can't go wrong with Noble Gold. Call the team now, 877-646-5347 to find out more, or visit noblegoldinvestments.com. Checking out your comments right now. Yeah, my feed yesterday was full of all these conspiracy theory angles on 9/11. I'm seeing your comments about Building 7. I was like, what's up with my algorithm these days? I didn't used to get stuff like that. But, I never questioned 9/11. Now, apparently everyone I follow questions 9/11. And I'll show you the most interesting insight from everything that people were saying yesterday in regards to 9/11. I am seeing that you're saying that you stopped getting notifications from YouTube about me. That sucks. Yeah, something is weird with the algorithm. So please hit like, comment, and share if possible. Hit the bell for notifications. it will help my algorithm as I continue to try to share news here, as Instagram is continuing to censor me yet again. So before, well, let me get into it. Yeah, Trump shared a link to that golf course looking very nice. I love how he used all the gossip about him to share one of his many golf courses and promote some of his business. So CNN putting out a headline today: Trump asks judge to reject DOJ's request to continue to review documents seized from Mar-a-Lago. So guys, a lot has been going on in regards to that raid, which happened just over a month ago at Trump's home. So here's what happened. Trump requested a special master, which is someone that the court assigns to oversee the review of the evidence. So Trump has requested that everything that the feds seized be reviewed to see if they grabbed things that they shouldn't have grabbed. Apparently their warrant was only to look for classified documents, yet they seized thousands of things. And so he's like, let's double check this. Trump was requesting two things: that a special master be there, someone to oversee the review of those documents, and while the evidence that the feds seized is being reviewed, his other request is that the feds stop investigating that evidence themselves. Trump is asking a halt on the pouring over of his personal items, because it appears the feds did indeed grab a bunch of his personal stuff that they had no business grabbing as they did this raid. Now, the judge wrote up an approval, a partial approval of his request, and she has an interesting timeline on all of this. She says something very interesting about President Biden and all of this. So let's look at this. So here's my notes on what she wrote. So Trump has requested a special master, like I said, to oversee the independent review of the items that FBI seized, and requested that feds stop examining the items until an independent review is done and items not part of the warrant have been returned. Trump is saying, please don't continue allowing the feds to look at my stuff until my personal stuff has been returned. So this is what the judge wrote. She says that the Trump team and the National Archives were in contact multiple times throughout 2021. She then writes that in January 2021, which sounds like a typo to me, because if she's saying they talked throughout 2021, then in January, it sounds like she meant January 2022. Anyway, her actual document says that in January 2021, Trump sent 15 boxes to the National Archives and Records Administration. The National Archives noted some of the items were classified documents. So again, the judge is writing that it was Trump who freely sent those 15 boxes to the National Archives in January. And a lot of them were newspaper clippings and things like that, mementos, but some of them were classified documents. That is when the National Archives decided to alert the FBI, but they delayed that for months. The National Archives told the Trump team on April 12th of this year that it would be sending those 15 boxes to the FBI the following week. The Trump team then asked for an extension. So months after receiving 15 boxes from Trump's home, the National Archives said, hey, we feel like we should send this to the FBI because you have classified stuff in here. And Trump said, hey, can you pump the brakes on that and not send it yet? Okay, and then here's the really interesting part that involves President Biden. And let me just bring this up on the screen directly for you as I quote this next. Matter of fact, let's hear from President Biden first, because Peter Doocy from Fox asked President Biden about his involvement in the FBI raid. And here's the clip of what Biden said about that. It's hard to hear. He says, how much advance notice did you have of the FBI's plan to raid Mar-a-Lago?
I didn't have any advance notice. None. Zero. Not one single bit. Thank you.
So he says, yeah, I didn't have any advance notice. None. Zero. Not a bit. So that was Biden's reaction. Now let's read what the judge wrote in regards to Biden's involvement in that. I have linked this document down below, Donald Trump versus the United States of America, the order from the judge in this case. The interesting part is at the bottom of page 2. So this, again, is following Trump's team's ask for a request for an extension. National Archives was about to send the 15 boxes to FBI. Trump said, hold off on that. And then it says here that the White House counsel's office granted Trump's request to hold off on sending the boxes to the FBI. The White House counsel's office is basically Biden's top attorney that keeps Biden abreast of everything legal going on. So Biden's office gave the thumbs up for Trump to hold off on sending those documents to the FBI. Then on May 10th, the judge writes, the National Archives informed Trump's the plaintiff, they informed Trump that it would proceed with providing the FBI access to the records in question as requested by the incumbent president, beginning as early as May 12th. The incumbent means current, the guy who's currently in office. So the judge is saying right here that the National Archives said, okay, starting May 10th, we are going to go ahead and proceed. We granted your request, Trump. We waited a month to give these 15 boxes to the FBI. And now we are going to go ahead at Biden's request and give these boxes to the FBI. So it literally says the incumbent president right here, the incumbent president requested that they go ahead beginning May 12th of this year and give the 15 boxes from Trump's home to the FBI. So it appears, according to the judge, that Biden is lying about having zero heads up about this. I mean, he's the one who was asking for these boxes from Trump's home, apparently. But it goes on. So the judge writes that the government says that the FBI didn't get around to accessing those boxes until May 18th, a week later. Then on June 2nd, Trump invited the FBI, according to the judge, June 2nd of this year, Trump invites the FBI into his home to pick up responsive documents. Trump team handed over the documents that they handed over the documents that day on June 2nd, and then they also allowed 3 FBI agents and a DOJ attorney to visit the storage room where the documents were held. So Trump invited the FBI into his home in June. I don't know if he regrets that now, but they went in there to examine everything. He thought it was good to go. But then the judge writes that the government said after that, quote, the FBI uncovered multiple sources of evidence indicating that the response to the May 11th grand jury subpoena was incomplete. Yeah, because while they were waiting to pick up those documents, even though the judge is writing that Trump was very complicit with like, yeah, take my documents, I'll send them to you. DOJ went ahead and did a grand jury subpoena saying that we had the grand jury's demand to go get these, which they didn't really need, but they got that while they were waiting. And so FBI is saying that somewhere, somehow they uncovered some additional evidence that there was something more in his home that he wasn't showing them. So then the DOJ applied for that famous search and seizure warrant. They found that magistrate judge who used to represent Epstein's clients. We talked about that before. They applied for that search and seizure warrant, and they did the raid on August 8th, just over a month ago, unannounced raid. And I don't know if you saw the news clips of how the media was initially calling it a raid, and then then all these clips of the media saying, "Oh, it's not a raid. Actually, we didn't mean that. It was just a lawfully executed search warrant." Well, it was search and seizure unannounced, so it was a raid, according to the judge. Judge says that the FBI on August 8th seized 11,000 documents and 1,800 other items, a total of 27 boxes of classified and unclassified stuff, according to the judge. On page 6, she writes that the government has already examined every item seized, quote, as it takes further investigative steps, such as through additional witness interviews and grand jury practice. So Trump requesting, like I said, it's been over a month now since the government grabbed those documents. Trump now requesting that the feds stop analyzing his thousands of documents and items that they seized. It's probably too late, and are we to trust that if they say, well, we'll stop looking at stuff, that they actually will stop looking at stuff? Nevertheless, the government, the Biden administration is appealing and saying, we want to keep looking at these documents. Nevertheless, the judge is saying government's admitted they've already looked at all the documents, and now they're proceeding with the investigation and taking tips from what they found at Trump's home to interview even more people and keep proceeding with their investigations. Like many have speculated, probably a witch hunt to try to get Trump charged with something, because his opponents do not want to see him run again. And everyone kind of knows that he is going to run again. So they're looking for something. As people have speculated, if it was really about classified documents, and the Washington Post posted anonymous rumors, or they wrote up anonymous rumors about it involving, nuclear secrets, nuclear weapon concerns, if it was really that, vital and crucial, why did it take this long and everyone dragged their feet for months and months on end when they knew that this stuff was there? Anyway, so this judge, partially granting Trump's request, has infuriated the radicals who hate Trump. We have this headline as well from CNN, quote, "Woman arrested for allegedly threatening judge in Mar-a-Lago documents case." So because the judge is partially granting Trump's request for a special master, this woman from Houston, where I live, she blew up the phone of the judge, no pun intended, but she left multiple messages for this judge here, saying, basically death threatening the judge. According to CNN, they said, quote, the woman left messages saying, quote, "Donald Trump has been disqualified long ago and he's marked for assassination. You're helping him, ma'am. He's marked for assassination and so are you," this woman said, telling the judge to, quote, "stand the F down or get shot." So a woman is threatening the judge's life, trying to intimidate the judge out of, following the law. And so the woman has been arrested. A lot of pretty radical people who hate Trump. There was that famous tweet from a celebrity. What was it about? If Trump wins next time, it's going to be civil war. If he loses, it's not going to be civil war. And I was like, what does that mean? And I was like, oh, okay. So, because the left is so radical that they will launch a civil war against Trump. I mean, leftists have already proven themselves as the most radical people by how violent they were in a lot of their protests, burning down buildings, throwing rocks at police, and even injuring and killing police in some cases, sniping police in Dallas. The left have been pretty radical. Right-wingers have been, vast majority of the time, really peaceful. And so it seems like the leftist radicals are the ones who are willing to take violent action and launch civil war if Trump were to get elected again. But if he were to lose, you rarely see right-wing people, take violent action to stand up for their beliefs. So they would probably stay pushed over and allow Biden to continue trampling over them if Biden won again, or Biden's associates won again. So that's my take on that. Yeah, Kathy Griffin, that's the tweet. I forgot her name. Kathy Griffin tweeted that if Trump won, it would be civil war. And I interpreted that as him, because the left is that radical. Okay. So the other note is that the FBI office that raided Trump was the DC office, the same office that's investigating January 6th. Just the News is reporting the FBI Detroit chief, during the bungled Whitmer plot sting, now runs the DC office that raided Mar-a-Lago. His name is Stephen D'Antuono, if I'm saying that right. He ran the Detroit field office when trial testimony alleges that literally the FBI instigated, encouraged, and facilitated what the government charges was a plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. So the same head honcho of that office, who apparently allowed or set his guys up to do this fake kidnapping, is now in charge of the Trump raid, the Trump investigation, and January 6th. So that's interesting. Is this another fake thing? What the heck is the FBI up to? So the other note that I wanted to tell you guys about is that we've covered some of what the WHO has been up to. They've had a huge role in the pandemic of the past 2 years, and when monkeypox came out, WHO's Director General spoke at a press conference telling all of the media and social media that it is important to start censoring anything about monkeypox that doesn't fit the narrative, that we got to control the monkeypox narrative too. WHO's Director General Tedros. Right now, the WHO is putting out a call to the general public around the world, asking you guys to weigh in on how to prevent future pandemics. So now is the time to give the WHO your feedback. Hopefully they'll listen. You gotta stay positive about this. So WHO putting out that call, they have a deadline though, so you can submit your answer on how you believe the WHO should handle any future pandemics. I know we all have a lot of thoughts on this. How about don't censor information about them? Let us all freely share information to figure out what the heck's going on. That's one suggestion in how to handle future pandemics. But I have linked down below. My friend James Roguski has been on top of this. He has his Substack. I have linked it down below. He gives instructions on how you can provide your feedback to WHO. Like I said, they do have a deadline. It is tomorrow, September 13th at 11 a.m. Eastern is when they have the cutoff for all submissions or recommendations to the WHO from the general public. So go ahead and weigh in if you would like. And finally, I was going to get to the Bush 9/11 saga. God, it looks like I forgot to export this clip. Hold on, you guys. So you guys were talking. I have heard so much since I left the corporate news about what really happened with 9/11. I mean, I have never heard, so many ideas outside the narrative until leaving the corporate news. And part of that is because when you're in the corporate news, you have your blinders on, the company keeps your blinders on, but also the public has given up. The people with the biggest questions have given up on reaching out to corporate news journalists. So corporate news journalists aren't even aware of some of the questions you guys have. So my advice to you guys is don't give up on the corporate news journalists. A lot of them are just absolutely clueless. Like I was clueless about a lot of things. Send all your news tips to them still. And it will spur them to investigate some things they hadn't looked at. But anyway, yeah, a lot of people are sharing things like, oh, there's when the second building gets hit, there's no plane, people say. But I mean, the angle that I saw, it was clear the plane was coming from directly behind the building. So the building was in the way, you couldn't see it. A lot of this stuff, I'm like, I don't know, these theories about whether it's really a plane. I'm still just like, I don't know if I believe these theories. I still believe that planes hit the towers. Now, the only thing that I saw today that really raised my eyebrows to make me think further was something that Bush said himself, because a lot of the theories are that there was an explosion, that bombs were used, not planes, but it was bombs used to drop those towers. And I just haven't seen enough evidence of that yet. But hearing Bush say it himself, which if you recall back then, and I was a kid when Bush was president, but I recall him always slipping up and saying things he didn't mean to say. And this is one case where he says that and actually says that the towers were downed by, an explosion, not by a plane. So here it is.
The men our intelligence agencies believed helped orchestrate the 9/11 attacks can face justice. Bill would also provide clear rules for our personnel involved in detaining and questioning captured terrorists. The information that the Central Intelligence Agency has obtained by questioning men like Khalid Sheikh Mohammed has provided valuable information and has helped disrupt terrorist plots, including strikes within the United States. For example, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed described the design of planned attacks on buildings inside the U.S. and how operatives were directed to carry them out. That is valuable information for those of us who have the responsibility to protect the American people. He told us the operatives have been instructed to ensure that the explosives went off at a point that was high enough to prevent people trapped above from escaping.
Did you hear that, people? He actually slipped up. George Bush slipped up and said that he used explosives in that building. What the fuck?
Okay, so that was the only, out of everything being shared with me, that was the only thing I was like, he literally said, he talked about explosives being placed somewhere high up in the Twin Towers. And I was like, what? And hopefully this isn't a topic YouTube censors. I'm like, I don't even know what YouTube censors these days. They censor like everything. But I just had to share that. It made me think like maybe there is something to that. I see some of you commenting that yes, the planes were used, but explosives were used in coordination with the planes. Who knows? You know, after seeing, you know, as much as has been uncovered about media coordinating with the government to deceive people, I am more apt to be open to those things, especially, you know, earlier on my YouTube, I highlighted the 1996 plane crash off the coast of New York, in which many eyewitnesses noted some sort of missile going up to the plane, and the government official testimony was that it was some sort of wiring malfunction that caused the plane to explode and go down. But everyone on the ground who saw it saw that missile, yet the media was taunted and shut down from investigating that, and journalists investigating it were strangely fired. So you look at stories like that and you're like, okay, maybe I should open my eyes about 9/11 a little bit more, or, you know, and start asking more questions. But again, Bush was known for misspeaking a lot. So maybe he just totally misspoke there, but he definitely talked about explosives being placed in the tower, which was like, what? I've never seen that soundbite. What the heck? Wish my YouTube luck. Hopefully YouTube doesn't delete me for sharing that. You never know these days. All right. With that being said, we will see you again tomorrow. Have a good one. Like, share, comment, help my algorithm. We'll see you later.